Okay, so after much technical difficulty, hopefully this is, viewable, hearable. Um, the guests that we had, planned to talk to today couldn't make it due to illness. I don't know if anyone is there in the chat right now, but if anyone wants to join us, you're welcome to join the stream or just ask questions in chat. Um, you know, Otherwise, I suppose I will just kind of give an overview of what's going on again, and we will try this again a different day
You
that
haven't.
things work out better. I have what?
You have an echo. It's delayed.
Great.
It's really delayed, but there's an echo.
Um, can anyone watching the stream hear the echo? Okay, so dead air, that's always great. Um, um, well, I don't know. I don't want to just ramble on and have an echo going and not have anyone be able to understand what I'm saying.
Do you want me to launch it in like mute this tab and launch it in another? I can test it.
Well, sorry for the continued technical difficulties, apparently.
Oh no, wait! It is not a technical difficulty. I actually have it running. That's my fault.
Okay, no
Because
problem.
I had to load the YouTube channel in order to put it up on your website. That's my fault.
Well, not my website, our
Sorry,
website.
the Our Voice website.
Yeah. Okay. So if everything is working, then I guess I will just talk a little about, what
Yep.
this is, why we're doing it. Um, so I think the best way to explain this, the ultimate main reason that I decided to try to start this was I had to ask myself, do I believe climate scientists, for example, who say we have a very few years to make dramatic changes before, you know, certain dramatic effects are pretty much inevitable. Um, I think that we still have some time to make those kinds of changes. I don't want to make it seem like this is entirely about the environment, although I feel like that's an extremely important thing to all of us. Even people who don't necessarily care about wildlife or things like that care about, the food they eat, the water they drink, whether their houses are underwater. um, so you know, given the limited time that we have to do these things, um, I just don't see any framework for making things happen. I see a few, activist groups who are really pushing to make things happen, but they don't have the, widespread support. uh, our governments are not doing anywhere near enough to address those issues, let alone all of the other issues that we have in our lives, the issues that we've had for thousands of years, like war, um, the issues that we've had since the beginning of capitalism, like the relationship of employees and employers, and how our government fits into that. Um, there are a plethora of different problems that we can and should be addressing, but I feel like the only way we can actually uh, get these things addressed is through a mass movement of individuals, a grassroots movement, not um, you know, one specific organization working in opposition to other organizations to make a specific goal, but everyone working together to find the things that we can agree on, or the large majority of us can agree on, and move forward from there. Um, I hope that's a decent explanation. I hope that it's a reason that people will get involved. If you have a better suggestion, if you have some other method you think could work to make these things happen, please come on and tell us about it. But I haven't seen or heard anything that I believe can get the results we need in the time that we have. So I think the only choice we have really is to build our own movement. You have anything to add, Kit, or any questions or?
No, unfortunately, it's very hard to add very much to that because, like, fundamentally, people have been clamoring about this for decades. Like, even before we've been, like, even before people were making fun of Al Gore for coming out and saying, this is a big deal. Climate change is a big deal. There were people before Al Gore saying climate change is a big deal. Like, global warming, we have a problem. There were people before that saying we are polluting the planet. This is dangerous. This is a big deal. We need to change our sources of energy because we are going to goddamn run out of it. That we are doing is dangerous and is damaging. It is poisoning people. It's toxic to us. It is doing horrific things to us. Even before we realized that it was, causing catastrophic effects, people were already pointing out that there was going to be a point of no return at some point, and there was very little uh from the point of view of, like, uh uh the, I don't know, the halls of power. There was very little movement to deal with that. And every time you take a step forward towards a point of no return, it's almost like, it's paradox. You take a no return, and you are always running out of time as a result. And so, like, how do you evince upon people that you need to take action when there is a turnout with
Yeah.
yeah, and that is probably the next pressed that is probably the question on everybody's mind. Like, how do you express um, uh, to large groups of people, like, what is the compelling nature to get people together, like the notion of groundswell in order to deal with this sort of thing, rather than, especially in the face of what the issues that need to be dealt with, given that, one, the resources that we're using, largely, especially the non-renewables, are going to crush everything. The climate change isn't just a fable, and known that it was so long ago that that nobody should have ever pretended that it wasn't. And we're at the point where you can actively say that we could point at where the point of no return is. So how would you say, like, where, like, how do you say that you would work to help convince people, to draw them in, to pull them into like build that community?
I I think that's my biggest problem right now. I think that we are actually way past where we should have started something like this. You know, even a couple of years ago when I first realized that this is probably the only path that we had, and then didn't do enough with it, and then once I did start it, had trouble getting people very interested, and just haven't done enough with it. But um, you know that I I really struggle to get people to recognize the need for it. I think because we are told so often that someone else is taking care of that. Let someone else worry about that. The government's, they just passed something that's going to help with climate change or something. There's never a really specific like this is what's happening and this is how it's going to help and how long it's going to take to help. It's just kind of a vague, well, this is historic climate legislation or something. Like, historic climate legislation is pretty much doing anything. you know what we need is well beyond what our government's considering, or what just about any government I'm aware of is considering. And you know, unfortunately, I think people are prone to believing that these things are going to address it, or that technology is just going to improve so much that will miraculously be saved from the effects of what we're doing. But um, I mean, this comes back to you kind of addressed resource use, and it's not just fossil fuels, but all kinds of resources that we extract from the earth on a
Oh,
regular basis and use. And then, at least in the U.S., our culture has become one of buying things, using them briefly, throwing them away, and rebuying them because it's easier. But it's ultimately unsustainable. There we have produced so much plastic in recent years that it dwarfs the plastic that we had produced in all of human history before that. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's getting way out of control. And with the amount of things like electric cars that we're extracting, rare resources like lithium, I
tantalum,
guess it's not,
cobalt.
yeah, it's not, some of them aren't extremely rare, but, they're not super common, and they take a lot of resources to, dig up and process. And then, if we just use them and throw them away, you know, that's not doing us a lot of favors. And you know, there is a limit to every resource that we have. I mean, some of them are renewable in the fact that plants regrow, things like that. But we don't know how to just make more oil. Um, the same with metals and a lot of things. Like, you know we mine them where we can find them. If we waste them all, and don't recycle them, then we're going to be mining garbage dumps, I guess. But you know all of this is something that I think we really need to re-examine as a society, and decide what we want to do. I think that we should be moving back toward a lot of items that are usable for your entire life, for multiple generations, rather than, so like every couple of years you buy a whole new set of pots and pans or something because the Teflon coating scratched off. That's not particularly efficient or good. Or we have so many different things that could be made to last but break down. um, you know, and it's not, uh, in a lot of companies' interest to make them last because they want to keep selling.
Yeah,
But
the concept of planned obsolescence, uh, especially in tech products or like extremely cheap, designed to be extremely cheap products, where uh, only for a few dollars more you could make something that actually is out of components that are durable, that would last a hell of a lot longer. Except for that's not very profitable if it's an item that would last like 20 years when you could make something that would only last 6 months, forcing
yeah,
the person to come back over and over and over and over again to consistently buy it from you and then throw it in the dump.
um, there
Got chat.
Daddy says a lot of this is due to megacorps being money hungry and things that are made to last are unattainable for the average person. I think there is a lot of truth in that, but there are different aspects of it. Like there was in my mom's garage, there was like this plastic McDonald's plate from like the 80s, and it's still usable, and yet we buy plastic plates every day just to use for like 5 minutes and throw them in the garbage. You know, those plastic plates could be made slightly better, you know, so they don't crack when you look at them, and you know they could be washed and reused, but that's not, you know, this society that we have been nurturing, you know, over the last several decades. You know, it's not one for of reuse, but of, you know, throw it away, buy a new one. um yeah, someone is offering to promote the channel, but they want money for it, and it seems kind of scammy. If you're not a scammer, I apologize and you can explain it better, but I think it's just someone who goes around and tries to get money from different channels by, you know, promoting them. Um, anyway,
Yeah, that's someone on Twitch.
okay. Yeah, we're using Restream to consolidate messages from YouTube and Twitch and Twitter and uh, where else is it? I don't know. Okay, so where were we? What do we want to talk about?
Well, I mean, the economics of the non-durable certainly speaks to like the poor resource use. Boot economy.
Hmm. I'm not sure what you mean by boot economy in chat, if you want to clarify. Um, so anyway, um, I I think everyone realizes that we have a lot of different problems. In the U.S., we have, you know, a lot of problems beyond the things we're talking about that I think could easily come to a head in the next few years if we're not careful. You know, we have people talking about civil wars or a national divorce or things like that, which, you know, um, too many times it comes in, you know, along with talk of armed conflict, of buying guns and getting ready, and, you know, people pushing for race wars and, you know, attacking Jewish people and all kinds of other groups who they think are the problem. Um, you know, if you think that there is a specific ethnic group that's the problem, then, you know, I hope you'll come on and talk about it, because I think that you might be missing what the actual issues are. There are a lot of people who are very invested in distracting you from from who and what is actually causing uh, your problems, and directing your anger toward people who have not necessarily done anything to you. Um, can't afford a good pair of boots, buy crappy boots, repeat. That's what the boot economy is, I guess. So I don't know how many people are here, how much we want to talk. You know, I did want to at least start again on the anniversary here to uh, see if we can get some people involved, and you know, I think ultimately the most important thing right now is to talk to people about this idea, to um, to see if they have something better, and if they don't, to help them to recognize that this is something that we actually need to do, instead of just, well, that's a nice idea, maybe someday someone will do it. You know, I think that this is literally the most important thing that any person could do right now, if we can make it work. If it's just a couple of people sitting here on YouTube or whatever, it's not going to really change the world. It's not going to be important. But uh, if, you know, regardless of whether this exact setup works, um, if we can get this started as a movement, um, I think that it could be the most important thing that we do in our lives. And, you know, um, I think that some generations before us wished that they could do this. I know that around the World War One era, people were actually invested in the idea of ending war. Um, you know, I think that they had a difficult time with it, in part because they didn't have worldwide communication in the way that we do today. You know, they could send letters, they could, you know, get faster communications to, you know, certain people in other places, but they couldn't just talk to anyone from anywhere in the world at any moment. Um, I think that we are in a unique time now where we actually can make this happen. Um, and I think that if we you know, don't take this opportunity, we're going to regret it in the years to come. Do you want to read anything from chat? Get, or I can.
Um,
Uh, so, yes, that's a huge part of the issue with being environmentally conscious as an average citizen, though we do need to manage our trash and recycling better. Um, I assume that is talking about the, you know, boot economy. Um, and yeah, I would really like us to be managing things better. It it's difficult to see other people who are actively against trying to recycle anything. They like, if I mention that there's a recycling can somewhere and someone is going to throw a can in the garbage or something, they sometimes get angry. Like, you know, like no one should care and no one should try, you know. And I guess, you know, it's hashtag freedom to them, but like, I just don't get it. Um, I think that, yeah, it's easier if you just, you know, use things and throw them wherever you are done with them. But that doesn't, you know, provide us with a, decent place to live, and it doesn't manage our resources well. Um, I think we need to, instead of the kind of fake recycling programs that we have
Oh,
going on in
yes.
the U.S. right now, where a small fraction of things are maybe recycled, and most of it's just tossed back in the landfill or burned or whatever. That that's not good. Um, I get that it's difficult for people at this point to think about and actually separate things out into different types of materials so they can be recycled easily. But if you actually look at the scale of the things that we use, the waste that we produce, and see where it goes and what happens to it, after we're done with it, um, I I think a lot more people would be, willing to try something if they really understood the scope, you know.
It's pretty staggering. Well, and also, it was kind of amusing that you mentioned cans,
Hmm.
especially because out of everything that you would potentially throw away, if it's an aluminum can, that's one of the most imminently recyclable things that we have.
Yeah, and yet I see people, sticking cigarette butts in them, and like, well, someone else can clean that out or whatever. Like, you could just not put it in there, you know, and no one is going to waste their time, uncrushing your crushed, aluminum can, taking out your cigarette so they can recycle it.
Well, I mean, well, Japan especially had to come up with a spectacular trash system. They are an archipelago. They're a tiny, tiny set of islands that they need to deal with their tiny amount of space. So anything that they produce, they need to deal with it there or ship it out. So,
Yeah, we
uh,
ship out a lot, but I think that that's one of the reasons that we've been able to develop that
yeah,
type of a society, is that we have so much space. And
yes.
if you just go a little outside of the city and
You just,
dump everything there, eventually cover it up and put some houses on top of it, you know Um,
mm,
but it is good to note, though, that there are countries who have had to address some of these issues in a better way. And, we have models that we can look to improve things if we actually want to do that. A lot of this is about creating the will to make change. Chat asks, have you heard of the national sword? I do not
no.
believe so.
You're going to have to explain what that is and how we can relate it.
I'm going to try a chat overlay. So
Oh, new comments will display here.
I guess it won't do the previous ones, but
That's rude.
well, lots of things to figure out on the technical side, since I'm
I
not an
didn't even know it
experienced
could do
streamer.
that. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah,
I
there are a
noticed
couple
that
of different ways.
you can also add extra cameras now, apparently, too.
There's also a way to put chat down at the bottom, I think, like the captions. But this
Oh,
one should keep
highlights.
the, yeah, like if you want to put a specific comment up. Um, so yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things we can do with this. I think I'm I don't love streaming. I'm not great at talking to people. I don't enjoy it a lot, but I am completely willing to come here and talk to people as much as possible, because we need to make this happen. So basically, we sent a lot of recycling to China for years, and our recycling was so dirty and there was so much in it, they said, nope. And now we got all this trash. There's more to it than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there were a number of, you know, Asian countries, especially, and maybe other places where we were sending a lot of recycling, but it was just, you know, in
Crap.
such, yeah, it was so poorly handled and sorted that, you know, no one was going to deal with it, you know. So it just ended up being more landfill there. That's really sad because there is a lot that we throw away that could be reused, you know. I mean, glass products, think of all of the things we buy in glass jars, and those glass jars could literally last hundreds of years if we don't break them, and yet we use them once and then
Yes.
they go into a landfill.
Yeah, and well, and glass is mostly silicon dioxide. You could just, melt it.
Yeah, I mean it's a very recyclable product, especially clear glass. You
Yep.
know, colored glass is a little more complicated if you want to keep specific colors or whatever, but um, you know, it would still be possible, especially if you collect the same types of glass together. You know, you can reuse them or recycle them. Um,
Yeah, I mean, depending on what sort of energy use you want out of it. And so I guess it depends on your energy economy, but yeah, it's kind of or and it is a little bit weird. I mean, like mason jars, they last forever, and like they're an amazing product as long as you pointed out, as long as you don't accidentally shatter it. That it
there
just degradation is your worst enemy there.
like pick up a mason jar though and compare it to a jar that you buy pasta sauce in at the store or whatever. Like
Oh,
the mouths are a little different, you know, the shape might be slightly different, whatever, but there's very little actual difference between
uh,
the products, you know, like um
yeah, the molding is just different. Yeah. Your worst enemy there is the lid, I suppose.
yeah, but you know, I mean, we choose how to make those things. We could make them standardized if we wanted to, if that would help. Um, you know, but I guess my point is just like we could keep using these things, but instead we just throw them away.
Into the trash.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, so I feel like we're kind of rehashing the same things a little bit.
True.
What else do we want to talk about? Um, I guess it's not super important, but I've been working on the logo thing a little. I'm not the greatest artist, but it's a lot better than the chicken phoenix that I had at first. Um, Hopefully, in red, it looks a little bit more like a phoenix. These flyers I did have it in black where, you know, maybe it's not as obvious, but hopefully it's still,
It looks like a phoenix.
yeah.
It looks a little bit weird in reverse, but it's okay.
Well, if anyone has any suggestions on that front, you know, open. Um, let's see. So I don't know how often I'm going to plan to do this, but I definitely want to do it more often, and I'm willing to do it as often as anyone is willing to come on here and talk. Um, and you know, anyone who's actually, you know, who understands the goals and ideas behind this can, you know, come on here and stream themselves. Like we can just keep going back to back, one person to the next, all day, every day, if we can get enough people. Um, that's ultimately what I would like this channel to do. Um, but we need to do a lot more beyond that. We need to find all of the kinds of people that it takes to build out a worldwide organization. Um, I I want to make sure that it doesn't become something where you know the usual I want to put it delicately. There are people in there are a lot of people in charity organizations who are doing great work and really trying their best to make a positive impact in the world. There are also a lot of people running things as charities who are primarily there to get a big paycheck, to get clout, to make connections for themselves, to get money in some other way. Um, it can't turn into that. It needs to be really about doing something good for the world. And as long as we keep our focus in the right place, um, I think we can do that. We just have to make sure that it stays the kind of grassroots, you know, hopefully volunteer kind of thing that it is. If we have to involve money in it at some point, that's kind of the nature of the world right now. But uh, it can't revolve around that or get stuck on, um, you know, being that for certain people, especially people who are in charge of running things in certain areas or anything like that. I hope that made some sense. But those are basically the two things that I feel like we need to do right now. Get people behind the idea of coming together to build a better future, to address the problems that we don't have time to wait for someone else to address, and the problems that no one is even trying to address. There's some things that are so fundamental to the societies that we live in right now that we don't even think to question them, but I think we should. Um, that comes down to things like division of resources. Um, I'll guess I'll throw out one radical idea right now, which is um, I think that rather than either having privatized resource use the way we do right now, or having nationalized resources, I think we need a worldwide system where people are individually, we each individually have a share in the resources that we use, both land use and things that we extract. Um, I think that everyone should have a place that they can live, a place that they can grow food if they want to do that, or that they can kind of assign to someone else if they don't want to grow food themselves. They can still benefit from that piece of land, and have that hopefully be enough to feed and house them, without them having to do a job just to survive. Um, I'm not saying that we can have the kind of society we have right now without anyone doing any work. That's obviously not true. But I think that we can reduce the work we have. We can change the way that we share our resources, so that everyone is taken care of, and we still have the ability to have a bit more luxury by uh, doing more uh, work that benefits the other people. Um, I hope that makes some sense. I think I'm saying that a lot. um, any comments on that, or?
No, I
Yeah, I mean, it's something to think about. It's there are a lot of different things we can consider, ideas and ways of doing things that you know just haven't been tried before. And before we decide on exactly what those are, I think we need to talk to more people. um, just a handful of people here can't decide the fate of the world, but um, I think if we talk about the some of the ideas that we have and ideas that other people have out there, we'll find a lot of things that we can do to improve things. And I really think we can get people on board if we are actually open to listening to people and figuring out what their problems are and how to actually address them.
yes, and listening is a very important part of, well, examining issues and finding the base cause, which is which helps unravel the underlying issues.
So I wouldn't say this has been an extremely successful outing, but at least we got something out there, and we will continue. Um, if anyone in chat has something else they want us to talk about, anything you want to talk about, or just post up here, go for it. Um, Otherwise, let's see what else do we need to address. Um, I mean, if you're here, you're probably aware of the website, OurVoice.social. There's not a lot going on there right now, but the more people join us, the more will happen. And I think if you're willing and able to talk publicly like this, I think that joining us on a stream is a good place to start. Um, think about things that you want to talk about, any questions you have, anything you want to challenge me on, or you know, just any kinds of problems that you have now, fundamental problems you see in our societies, anything that you want to see for the future. There's a lot to talk about. So I guess we don't really have anything else for the moment.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll just try to schedule something else soon. If anyone wants to talk, use the contact form on the website, or if you have a different way of contacting me, go for it. Otherwise, hopefully we will talk to you soon, and hopefully next time will be less full of technical problems and you know more full of useful information.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, well, see you guys soon.